Hi folks, and welcome to another edition of An Hour with Bob. I'm a little under the weather today. My knees are killing me because of the rain, and hopefully I'll get a shot in my knee and straighten me right out. But until then, I'm going to push through with this show. I was looking at, today, Aaron Judge signed a new contract with the New York Yankees. He tied, or actually he beat Roger Maris's single-season record of home runs, 62 home runs in a year. And I will guarantee, I will bet money, anybody wants to take a bet, that he doesn't match that this next year or doesn't even come close to it the next year. He did it because it was a contract year, and which is very common with these athletes. Now, the thing that I find really troubling, people say to me, oh, he's worth the money, he's worth all the money. Really? $360 million for 9 years? That's $40 million a year to play baseball. That is crazy. And I went around, I looked at some of the other salaries of athletes and players. Aaron Rodgers, what's his record right now? What do you got, 3 wins? 3 or 4 wins. His salary is for 3 years. He signed this $150 million salary, which is $50 million a year. And I wonder why they're not protecting him. Imagine being an offensive lineman making $2 million a year, he's making $50. That's why I think he's not getting the protection he should be getting. But $50 million, people actually say, sports fans will actually say that he's worth that kind of money. And putting it into context, the President of the United States makes $400,000 a year to run the most powerful country in the world. $400,000 a year. Some of these guys make that in a week. Mike Trout plays for the California Angels, signed a 12-year deal a couple of years ago, three years ago, I think, for $426 million to play third base. He's a third baseman. Good player, good athlete, won nothing. He's never won anything. They've made it to the playoffs a couple of times, but he's never even been in the American League Finals, I don't think. He makes, like I said, $426 million. I mean, that's astronomical, the amount of money he makes. That's $45,367,000 a year. That's his. And then you want to go to football, you got Deshaun Watson, who's in all kinds of trouble when he had to sit down for 10 games. He makes $38 million. It's astronomical. And Patrick Mahomes, another one, great one. He got a 10-year deal for $45 million a year. And with the endorsements and the bonuses, it comes to over $500 million in 10 years. And LeBron James takes the cake. He makes his side gig, all his endorsements and everything, he makes $70 million a year, plus $41 million a year to play, get this one, 82 games. That's if he plays 82 games. Do the math. Divide 82 into $41 million. I mean, it's crazy how much money these guys make. And the highest paid athlete in all of sports, guess who it is? I could never guess it in a million years. I'm going to ask my guest right now. I'm going to bring my guest on right now. MARK SCHIELDROP.
You got it, yeah.
MARK SCHIELDROP from AAA. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
What do you think of that? Who do you think the highest paid athlete of any kind, the highest paid person in the world is?
Highest paid person?
Well, I think, yeah. Well, no, I shouldn't say that.
Athletic person.
Athletic
Sports?
person.
That's a tough question. I'm kind of at a loss. I'm going to think, of all time or current?
Right now.
Right now?
It's probably all time.
I mean, part of me wants to say Tom Brady, but...
Not even close. Just the opposite. The reason why Tom Brady was so successful with the Patriots and with Tampa Bay is he always believed in spreading it around. He was never the highest paid quarterback ever.
Well, I knew he took the hometown discount for a long time. Yeah.
Exactly. He always said, take care of my linemen, take care of the wide receivers, let's spread it around. He never was, and his average pay was like $25 million, which is short change compared to these other guys. Wilson from Seattle was making $42 million. Rodgers was in the $35, $38 million. Right. They had 6 or 7 quarterbacks making more money than him. But they won because, again, he spread it around.
Right.
It wasn't all for him.
It's a team sport, and he gets that.
That was smart. That was actually smart. I mean, he's probably, that's
Yeah.
the reason why he's played so long, because they didn't get to him as many times. As, they're throwing Rodgers around like a doll right now.
Right.
Think about it.
Yeah, it's true.
The other lineman making $2 million, and this guy is making $50 million
Yeah.
to play 17 games.
know.
17 games. Divide 17 into $50 million, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, is that $3 million a game?
Yeah, I mean, that's, about
More
$3
than
million
that,
a game.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
20. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
$3 million a game.
Not bad for, maybe an hour and a half of work.
$3 million. Think about that. $3 million a game. And if you went by the number of passes he throws, he probably throws 50 passes a game. $3 million divided into 50, $60,000 a pass.
Yeah.
A pass.
Yeah.
The president of the United States makes $400,000 a year.
Yeah.
A year to run an entire country.
I mean, it makes you think about what our priorities are as a country.
Wrong. And the reason I bring it up is, years ago, I was doing one of my Bob's Big Adventure shows, and I was on my way to Russia. And I was on, stop off in New York, from Providence to New York, and then we get on a plane to Moscow. And I ended up sitting aside of this woman who was flying back to Russia. She was Russian. And we got on the conversation about how Americans are obsessed with sports. And there's no doubt, myself included. But I never believed any athlete is worth the kind of money they get paid. And it troubles me when people say, oh, he's worth that kind of money. He's the best player. But guess what, you fool? That's why it costs you $80 for a ticket, or $500 for a ticket in a playoff game, or $10,000 in a Super Bowl.
Yep.
That's why it costs so much. Well, we don't pay that. Oh, yeah, you do.
Yeah, and your cable fees. Think of how much you have to,
See, ESPN, everybody has cable. I have basic cable, and I don't even have ESPN. But you pay it anyway.
That's right.
It's attached to your bill. It's like $8 change. It's attached to your bill just for ESPN, even if you don't have it.
That's right.
Because that's part of the package that they have the cable companies have to pay to show these games.
And they still find a way to nickel and dime you. If, say, you're a baseball fan, right? If you're trying to watch a game that's out of market, they'll black it out, so you can't even watch it.
Right.
So you're paying the fees, and then you're limited to certain channels at certain times, depending on whether they feel like letting you see it or not.
And then they want to sell you a hat. It costs $2 to make in China, and they're selling for $30 because it's got the emblem on there, the NBA or NHL or whatever. And I was looking at, so I'm talking to the girl about, getting back to that one, the Russian girl, and she says, you guys are obsessed with sports. She says, we look at people that help the world, help scientists. We look at artists, cultural stuff.
Yeah.
Those are our people we look up to. And by the way, I've always said this, I've said this on TV for years, the most misused word in the English language is a 4-letter word, right?
Yeah.
It's called hero.
Yeah.
They call a hero, a guy hits a home run, he's a hero. A guy scores a touchdown, he's a hero. A guy gets a goal, he's a hero. He's not a hero. That's not my definition of a hero.
No.
I had a hero on here one night, a guy from in Massachusetts somewhere, I can't remember the town. He's driving by and he sees these tracks going towards the water and a fence down, and he immediately figured it out that a car went in there. In the dead of winter, that guy took off his gun belt, fully clothed, but minus the gun belt, threw it in the car, locked it in the car, dove in the water, dove down, and he can't see because number one, it's dark, and number two, it's murky water, and he's fishing around, feeling around. He gets to a car, gets to the door, and he feels it, and he actually has one of those things that pop the glass. Yeah. He pops the glass, and he feels it, and he feels a guy, or feels a person. He has to come back up, goes now freezing cold, goes back down, gets the door open. The guy's locked in. By this time, other cops have shown up. He goes back out of the water. He comes up. He says, "Anybody got a knife?" One of the cops has a pocket knife, right? Goes back down, cuts the strap off the guy, the seatbelt. He pulls him out of the car, brings him up. The guy is alive, still alive, just about dead, but still alive. By this time, the rescue's got there. But he doesn't know if there's anybody else in that car. No. So he goes back down. Now, who the hell would do that, right? This is late at night. 28 degrees, whatever it was. It was under freezing, and just under freezing because the place was, the pond wasn't frozen, but it was just about freezing that night. Goes back down. Now he climbs in the car. Now he's got to worry about getting out of the car because he's in the car and he can't see anything. He's feeling around. Is there a baby in there? Is there somebody in the passenger seat? Is there somebody in the back seat? As it turns out, nobody was in there, but he drove down 7 times in that water. He come out, he was shivering, so cold. That's a hero.
Someone who risks their life for others.
Exactly. That's what I call a hero. Not somebody that scores, kicks a field goal to win the game. That's not a hero.
No.
That's a guy that won a game. That's all he is,
Yeah,
He won a sporting event. I mean, this is what this woman was pointing out to me. She says, you Americans are so obsessed with sports, and you make these people out to be heroes when, in fact, they're nowhere near heroes.
That's right.
The highest paid athlete in the world is a soccer player. Something that I don't even care to watch.
That's right. Well, that's kind of funny because, soccer or football in other parts of the world is not that popular in the United States.
Right.
So that's
Guess what
fascinating.
his pay? I could not believe this guy. He got a 4-year deal, 4 years. He plays for FC Barcelona.
Okay.
And he's a striker, which I don't even know what that is.
Kicks the ball a lot, I guess.
Apparently. You don't hit the ball with your hands. You can't
World
touch
Cup
the ball with
fans
your hands, right?
are upset right now, but
No hands, right? FC Barcelona. His name is Lionel Messi, M-E-S-S-I. Is that how you pronounce it?
Messier?
Messi, M-E-S-S-I. Messi.
Okay, yeah.
Lionel Messi. 4-year contract. $674 million.
That's more than $500 million.
600 for 4 years to kick a ball and hit a ball with your head. $674 million. That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's $160 million a year. $162 million a year.
Think of all the good you could do in the world if
Exactly.
somebody gave you a check for $116 million.
Right.
You know?
And that's, I was going to get to that, by the way, because a lot of these athletes that make all the big money, they don't spread it around.
No.
The first thing, instead of helping the people in their community, because a lot of them come from, bad, rough livings, especially some of the basketball players and football players mostly, they had it rough growing up.
Yep.
You would think the first thing they would do is help their community, and some of them do.
Some of them do. Yeah.
But a lot of them don't.
No, they don't.
First thing they do is move out.
Yeah, or they start a clothing line, or they get involved in a business, or they try to start, thinking about their post-athletic career. So, maybe I'm going to be a commentator or sportscaster, or maybe I'm going to build a brand of some kind, So it does seem
And very few have done it better than LeBron James. He makes $41 million his contract, play basketball, 82 games a year. And I'm sure he doesn't play 82 games.
No.
$70 million on the side. His side action is $70 million he makes on the side.
Yeah, I mean, that's where the lucrative money is in the sponsorships and the extra deals and everything else, because that, pays you year-round, and it doesn't affect, your performance on the court. Once you sign
and you're
that
not getting
contract,
hurt doing it. You're not getting hurt doing it. You're not breaking a leg or pulling up Achilles or something like that.
That's right.
To make $70 million a year on this, he does that phone commercial. He does a lot of different commercials.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's very good at commercials.
Oh, he is, yeah.
The average Major League Baseball player, what do you think they make a year?
Oof. Well, I know the league minimum is only about $500,000, which is still a great salary, but in compared to other players who make the big bucks, I'd say the average salary is probably over $1 million at least, maybe 1.5 to 2 million.
How about 2.4?
2.4. Okay.
2.4. That's
All
the
right.
average player. $2.4 million.
Yeah.
Nobody makes the $500,000. A
No.
total rookie just starting out. How about the kid from Providence?
Yeah.
That won the MVP in the playoffs and the World Series.
Yeah, he's a great player. I did watch him throughout the season and in the playoffs, and some of his defensive moves were pretty amazing.
Plus, he played well, he
Yeah,
hit well.
he's a good player all around. I mean, he's one of those guys that when you watch on the field, they're just fun to watch.
They're exciting.
Yeah,
They're exciting.
Yeah.
Now, his value has gone up substantially.
Of course. Yeah.
NBA average salary.
I'd say about $1.5 million, right? Because I know some of those guys. $5? Wow. Well, I guess there's less players on a team. In baseball, you got the big roster, right? 40-man roster.
Yeah.
The NBA.
No, 25 men, I think, don't they? Don't they play 25?
Yeah. Well,
I think they start with 40 in the spring training.
Yeah.
And they have to whittle it down to, I think it's 25.
Yeah, I think how many people you can have in the majors, like on the
Right,
on the
on the
lineup,
roster,
you know,
yeah.
on the roster in the
Yep.
big leagues, and then you have 40 man, and some of those guys you have to keep down in AAA, AA, that sort
Exactly,
of thing,
yeah.
and then you can kind of shuffle them around. Yeah.
No,
you're
they
right.
don't make money.
No.
They make chump change.
Oh, yeah.
And they leave it. When Pawtucket was here, I had a couple of players over the years and talked to many of them, and they don't make good
I
money.
mean, a waiter at Olive Garden is going to be making more money than a minor league player, which is sad. When some
Right.
guy's making 132 million, they can't even afford the lodging for these guys in the minors. There've been some stories over the last year of some of the minor league players literally protesting the fact that, hey, we're not
We don't
provided
make
housing,
anything.
we have to pay our own hotels, and we're making nothing.
And most of the trips are by bus. They don't fly most of the time.
Oh, it's a slog. Yeah. As a
Big
kid going to
difference.
Pawtucket, there were some career minor leaguers who
Right.
never quite made it to the big leagues. Maybe they had their cup of coffee a couple times, they got out there, but for 10 to 12 years, they're sitting there playing ball, and it's because they love the game. That's part of the reason why minor league baseball is really enjoyable to watch sometimes.
Perfect example is a guy named Dave Koza, who had the notoriety of, I think he drove in the winning run in the longest game in history.
Oh, that's such a good
And
story.
I used to own a restaurant in Pawtucket,
Yeah.
a pub, and he was a customer, he was a regular customer. He worked for Freight Line. He worked for a Freight Line. He worked Yellow Freight, I think it was called. He worked for. Had 2 or 3 kids, but again, career minor leaguer. I think he got called up very short time for a cup of coffee type thing. But he was only making 50 or 60,000 a year, and like you said, he's got to pay for a lot of his own stuff and the transportation if you want to take his family with him and stuff like that. NFL, they play 17 games a year, right? The average pay in the NFL is $2.1 million. Play 17 games.
Yeah.
And of course playoffs, but then you get in playoffs, they make more money.
Yeah, they get those extra
Right, they
bonuses
get
and
extra
stuff,
money
yeah.
if they make it to playoffs. NHL is really the low end of the spectrum. They play, I think they play 80 games, 82 games,
Yeah,
something like
they have
that.
a pretty tough season, yeah.
They play a lot, and plus that's hard action.
It's a very physically
very
demanding.
fast action,
Oh, yeah.
very demanding. It's tough on the knees, especially.
Oh, yeah.
The average salary in the NHL is $82,000.
Wow.
I'm sorry, I'm wrong. I take that back. It's 1.5 million. The average weekly salary is, or game salary is $18,000 a
Okay.
game. $18,000 a game.
That's still a good chunk of change, but when you compare it to what we're looking at in the other leagues, it almost seems like a small amount, but it just shows you how you get warped perception when $18,000 a game, that sounds like a lot, but when you compare it to how much some of these other
Well,
ball
the
players
NFL,
make.
back to the NFL, the game price per game or money, salary per game, for the average one, $123,529.41. Wow. That's the average NFL player makes a game. And I hear people always saying, "Oh, he's worth more money. He's worth more money."
Yeah.
And then you bring that back to a teacher in America. The average salary is like a teacher, male or female, has been there for 10 years, got tenure. They're making $62,000 a year.
It's shocking when you think about it, And teachers, think about what role a teacher plays in our
Right,
society. How
right.
important is a teacher? Anybody who's made it in their life, from their own perspective, they're thinking about a teacher that gave them an insight at some
Exactly.
point.
And you'll always hear that.
My whole career is really based on a teacher of mine in high school who saw something in me and kind of guided me and nudged me in a direction.
Yep.
And everything kind of unfolded from there, And I think a lot of people have a similar story.
And back to the Russian girl, that's what she said. She said that we pay our teachers a lot more money than you do in America, and we pay our athletes a lot less money than you do in America.
Yeah.
Totally, we got it totally wrong.
We do.
We definitely got it totally wrong. But it's amazing to me how often I hear people say to me, "Oh, but he's worth it," or she's worth it. They should get that kind of money. The average day game of the NBA, one per game, is $62,000. Imagine you play what's an hour, right? Basketball, it's an hour.
Yeah,
Right?
with overtime sometimes and then timeouts, it can be a lot more than that, but yeah.
$62,000 a game.
Jeez.
When the president of the United States, getting back to that, makes $400,000 a year,
Yeah.
to have all that responsibility, they're making $62,000 a game. And a lot of them are kids. They're 22, 23, 24 years old,
Yeah.
making that kind of dough.
Well, it also explains why you got to almost be a rich person already in order to get into politics, because you're not going to be able to pay your bills on a salary. For example, some mayors in Rhode Island, and Mayor of Cranston, for years the salary was $80,000,
Right.
which was pretty decent maybe 10, 15 years ago. But after a while, with inflation, $80,000. Who's going to want to run the second largest city in Rhode Island for that?
Plus, when you go to an event and stuff like that, you go out, you're always buying stuff. You're paying for people. They don't expect you to pay for them.
Oh, no, yeah, and as a high-ranking elected official, you're expected to donate to other politicians. You go to their fundraisers,
Right.
and community groups reach out to you asking for help and support. And if you have a good heart,
Yep.
even if the city can't subsidize something out of your own pocket, you
throw
feel like
it
you
out,
got to
you
give
throw it out.
something.
And the governor's like that, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Dan McKee's like that. Very
Yeah.
sports very active in sports.
Yeah.
And was very big in the boys club, Boys and Girls Club in Cumberland. And I've been with him when he's done that.
Yeah.
Throwing contributions to this one and that one. You go to 3 to 4 different towns,
Yeah.
3 or 4 different events. And getting back to that, do you know that the salary of a state legislature is $13,000 a year?
Yeah. Well, they say, oh, it's a part-time legislature, but that kind of raises a whole other question of, if it's a part-time legislature, are we really having committed lawmakers really focusing on the job of running the state
Right.
and passing laws and really researching the laws? If they have to focus on their day job and then just kind of come into the legislature on a part-time basis, that kind of...
And it makes it difficult for so many professions to participate in that.
It's a huge time commitment, and
Right.
it's a huge energy commitment. Plus, you have to campaign. I mean, let alone the campaign season that
Yep.
takes up all your time. So that raises the question of who can afford to be an elected official if all you're getting is $13,000.
Lawyers, that's who can afford it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's who, for the most part.
Yeah.
Throughout the country, I couldn't believe when I heard this statistic that 75% of the legislators in the country are attorneys. 75%. Maybe it's a little lower now, but this was years ago I heard this. You think about it, it makes sense, because they can leave and they can set their court dates around it and go
Yeah.
to the State House, because they don't work on Mondays in the State House. They work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and half a day on Friday.
Yeah.
But the people that make the good money are the staff, chief of staff of the Speaker of the House,
Yep.
chief of staff of the head of the Senate president.
Yep.
What do you think they make?
Oh, well above 6 figures. Close to 200,000 around there.
165,000, 155,000.
Yeah.
To work from January to June.
Yeah.
Not a bad gig.
No, it isn't. I mean, politics is a tough business. I dabbled in it a little bit not that long ago, and it is a slog, and it is work, and you're under a lot of pressure. However, there's some haves and have-nots in politics, where there's some low-ranking staffers that are hoping to someday do
Right.
pretty well, but they do a lot of the dirty work for not much. And then you got a
Right.
few people like the chiefs of staff you mentioned
Right.
who do pretty well. And a lot of those folks have been in the establishment for a long time.
I
And-
want to be a chief of staff. Can I be a chief of staff?
You
They
probably
make
be a
more
good
than the
one.
governor,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They make more than the governor.
Yeah, and well, it's like if you look at the municipal budgets of some cities and towns, oftentimes it's a patrol officer who's making the most money in the
Yes.
community because of overtime.
Right.
So you'd think, oh, the mayor or the head of the school department, these are the people that are going to be making the money. But when you actually look at the budget and the line
Now,
items,
they're stuck on a salary.
Yeah.
He's making, I think the governor makes like 130,000 a year, something like that. But these other guys, his chief of staff makes more than him. His chief of staff makes 190.
yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a politician, you almost have to recruit somebody like that to be your chief of staff, and it's almost like a sports team trying to get win the contract for that athlete that everyone's after in
Right,
free
right.
agency. Yeah,
But in most cases, and I predict this guy, Judd, will never reach the pinnacle that he reached this year.
there's data to show that often after that big contract signing, there's sort of an off
There's no
year.
motivation.
Yeah, the pressure's off.
You don't need to worry about it. Guaranteed contract for
Yeah.
9 years. I can float.
Yeah.
Why
Why
you may hit 30
overexert?
home runs instead
Yeah.
of 60.
Why overexert? Take those rest days. Stretch your legs out. Why play in pain if
Right.
So it's interesting. Although it'll be interesting to see how he performs. You know, there's a lot of pressure on him to keep the pace, and you know, he signed with his home team there in the Yankees. So I know in New York they're pretty happy.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Now listen, let's get to you.
Yeah.
AAA. You work for
AAA.
AAA Rhode Island, right?
Yes, I do. AAA Northeast,
Oh,
technically.
Northeast. Where's
Yeah.
your office? Is it on Silver Spring or is it in West Warwick?
It's right off Royal Little Drive in Providence.
Okay.
Yeah, we got a nice, beautiful headquarters there.
Oh, that's the address.
that's the address, Royal
Because
Little.
I go by it all the time. It's
Yeah.
Silver Spring Street. You see it on Silver Spring Street.
Right off
But you're
Felix
right,
Miranda
Royal
Way.
Little,
Yeah,
Royal
kind of.
Little.
If you're heading down to Amtrak way down there,
Right.
you're gonna pass by us. You know?
Yep.
Yeah. So we have an HQ there, and then of course we have branches all over the state.
The
plus
one on 117 is in West Warwick. Or is it West Warwick?
Warwick, yeah.
Is it Warwick
yeah.
or West Warwick?
That's a really good question. You know, those West Warwick boundaries kind of wiggle around. So I
Yeah.
think it's Warwick, but if it is West Warwick,
But it's right
I'm
on
sure.
117. If you
Yeah.
take the 117 exit, you
Yep.
take a right, it's on your right.
Yep, and we got branches in Cranston and South County, but also AAA Northeast is not just Rhode Island. We're Massachusetts.
Right.
We're a good chunk of Connecticut, New York, New Jersey. So we're a 5-state
Really?
kind of empire. Yeah,
New
AAA
York and New Jersey is part of your group?
including Manhattan. Yeah, so AAA is one of those things where we're kind of a household name. Everyone knows AAA,
Right.
But we're actually a group of clubs all around the country, and we're federated together. So we have relationships with AAA around the country, but
Right.
there's actual unique clubs covering different territories around the country. So AAA Northeast, we're one of the largest clubs in the country, but we're up here in the Northeast.
Right.
And so we have our own CEO and our own board and our own staff and everything else, and we serve our members in our region. But you're going to find similar, hierarchy in different parts of the country as well. So California is CAA. There's AAA down in Florida. Basically we cover the whole country. But if you're in the Northeast and you're a AAA member, you're with us.
Right.
Yeah.
I can remember when there were two real major programs. It was AAA and ALA.
Yeah.
And I've been a member of AAA since 1977, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we have millions of members. Like in Massachusetts, for example, 1 out of every 2 drivers is a AAA member. So, we carry a lot of clout. When we go to the lawmakers, we say, this is what our members want. And
Right.
50% of your constituency are our AAA members. So, AAA is one of those things that generations kind of stress the importance of. My parents, one of the first things they got me when I was 16 years old
Right.
was, here's your AAA membership
Well, you know
card.
why? They didn't want to have to get up late at night to go pick you up because you got stuck with your car, ran out of gas or something.
It's the cheapest form of insurance you can get. And
It is.
yeah.
And people don't realize all the benefits you get from AAA.
That's the thing, and it really took me being a AAA employee to learn about all the benefits, because
Right.
most people think AAA, they think roadside, right?
Right.
But we do a lot more. I mean, we have a whole travel agency. So if you're a AAA member,
Right.
you ever think like, oh, it'd be nice to be able to book a trip with a travel agent, but I can't afford it. Guess what? It's a free service.
Right.
Yeah, our agent makes a little commission when you book a trip through them, but imagine you're stuck at an airport like millions of Americans were this past summer with
Right.
all the flight cancellations. Imagine having, instead of waiting in line at that desk, you call your travel agent at AAA and say, I've been canceled. They're going to get on the phone. They're going to find the right flight to get you out of that situation
Right.
and make those calls on your behalf. We offer wheel and tire coverage. Cheap cost, you get a scratch on your rim, we'll replace your tire for free. We have a huge discount and
Wait a minute,
rewards
go back to
program.
that.
Yeah.
What are you talking about when you get a
Wheel and tire coverage. It's something that you can purchase if you're a AAA member. It's low cost, it's a little bit of money, but some folks have really nice aluminum wheels. They get a new set of tires. The wheel and tire coverage is just another little benefit you can buy, where if something happens where your wheel gets scratched up or
Right.
you have tire damage, instead of having to buy a new tire, you file a claim with us. We'll replace that for free.
Replace the rim?
Yeah, the rim and everything. Yeah.
Well, I'm interested in that already.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about buying a Tesla, and the wheels on those cars are very expensive.
They are. That would be a good investment because,
Yes.
the cost of the car, it's just more peace of mind. So peace of mind is really what we're all about. We have a great discount and rewards program. So
Exactly. You go to Rentham outlet, and I think every one of those stores offers a 10 to 20% discount with a AAA membership.
Yep, a lot of hotels. You show
Right.
your AAA card,
All the
boom,
time.
10% off the top
Do
right
it all
there.
the time.
Yeah,
Yep.
movie ticket deals, deals going to Disney. If you're booking flights, we offer deals. We
Now
have
go back to the movies.
Yeah.
You're jumping over this.
Yeah.
I remember, I've done it before. You can buy packages. You can
Yeah.
buy 4 or 5 sets of tickets or something. You go to the theater. It's less expensive to go to the theater.
That's right. Yeah, movie tickets. People still buy movie tickets through us.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of folks who are really maximize their AAA membership.
Yeah,
So they know all the secrets.
they know all the ins and outs.
Yeah,
of it.
the real challenge for us is reaching younger folks, new members
Right.
that just think of roadside. So, we have to really work hard to get their attention and say, hey, there's a lot of stuff you're leaving on the table here. Have you really taken advantage of everything we have to offer?
Well, one thing I like is passport photos.
Passport photos, that's another thing. The registry services.
Exactly.
I mean, that's one of the main reasons why people sign up for AAA in the first place, so they don't have to go to the DMV. They can
No
just
kidding.
come right to AAA, get their license renewed.
Yep.
And that, for us, is a real opportunity to get people in the door.
Yep.
And then they see our travel agents over there. And then they see, the credit card that we offer that offers 5% cash back on gas or EV charging and groceries. And they find out about all the other stuff that we offer. And, that's a great way to kind of work on that relationship with our members, but that registry services benefit is one of the best things that we offer.
And what about the airline, the card,
Yeah.
Your license? What do they call that?
The Real ID?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just heard news this past week that
extended
they
it.
extended the deadline now, so it's 2025.
Right. But can I get my card there, AAA?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, God. In fact,
Yeah.
thank God I'm talking to you about this because I was planning on going to registry.
I can
don't
tell
wanna
you
go
what
to
paperwork you
registry.
need and everything. In fact, I've gone to senior centers and libraries and community groups to kind of explain what the Real ID is. So I'm
Right.
pretty well versed in it. For the most part, it's pretty straightforward. It's just like renewing your license. However, you're going to need to bring some paperwork with you to prove your ID.
Right.
And all
Like
that.
what? What do I need?
Birth certificate, social security
Passport?
card. A passport also works. A social security card or something with your social security number printed on it,
But
like
the
a pay
Social
stub.
Security card, there's no ID. I mean, you can't. There's no picture.
No, but you want to bring it all. So
Right.
it's a way to prove that, this is your real name, your real identity, and then prove that you're a legal citizen of the country. And then you're going to bring some proof of residency, so utility bills, bank statements, that sort of thing, or lease
Right.
agreement, or something from your homeowner's insurance policy, just to prove that, like, look, I live here, I'm a taxpayer here.
Right.
That's it. Once you go through that paperwork process, you've upgraded to a Real ID, and you get that little gold star on that ID, and then you're free. And then you can just renew your license as normal, so that paperwork process is just one time. You come
Right.
in, and that's...
And even the license renewals, I do them at AAA.
Yeah, and then you can
Instead
renew
of
it.
going, even
Yep.
the eye test and everything, I do
All
at
that
AAA.
stuff. And then once you get that Real ID, you can board a domestic flight after 2025 and not worry about having a passport with you or anything like that, because it will be required to get into some government buildings and to fly domestically. You're going to need a Real
So you
ID.
have to get it
You
done.
have to get it. So the concern was, and it has been, that once we get to this deadline, someone's going to come to the airport with their traditional license,
Right.
and they're not going to be able to get on a plane. So a lot of folks in the travel industry, folks at AAA, have been kind of concerned about that. Like, we got to get the word out and tell people that this is going to be a big
Yeah,
problem.
I didn't realize it was a I knew that
Yeah.
you were getting it, but I didn't
Yeah.
realize I didn't realize there was a deadline coming up.
Yeah, so if you have a valid active license, you don't have to worry about it. You can still, passport. If you have an active passport and you don't have a Real ID, you'll still be able to get on that plane. So you can show the passport
Right.
to get on that plane.
Well, the passport's everything.
It
And
is.
you go to other countries, the passport's the
Right.
most important thing.
There is an advantage, though, to not have to bring your passport on a domestic flight. It's one less thing to carry, one less thing to worry
One
about
less thing to
losing.
lose.
That's it, and we all know how that.
That could be oh my God,
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine losing my passport, especially out of country.
Oh, next thing you
Because
know,
you couldn't get back in the country.
Oh, and then you're tracking down the consulate and having to. And it's costly.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You got to
so-
go to the embassy.
All that.
I've been to some countries in Europe and Asia. If I lost my passport, my God.
No, yeah. So the Real ID is definitely worth getting, but now you got some time. You got some extra time to worry about it. So folks often end up in the situation where their license is about to expire. Should they renew now, or should they wait and then get the Real ID later?
Right.
Or somebody may have just renewed their license, but then all of a sudden they realize they're going to be flying after the deadline. So now I have to go back and renew again.
Right.
So a lot of concerns and questions.
Now,
but-
when you get it, how long does it last?
Oh, permanent. It's
Oh,
a
it
permanent
is.
upgrade, yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Now, you said that you produce a license. Now, what if I went in there with a license and my homeowner's policy and my electric bill? Would that be enough?
No, you're going to still need your birth certificate
All right.
and a social security card, because your license shows your identity, right?
Right.
But The issue with the Real ID was enhanced security. The idea is that if you have a Real ID, you've gone through a more rigorous
Right.
security check.
Because my concern was that, like in Massachusetts, they just legalized for illegal aliens to get licenses.
Yeah.
So my question was, does that affect that?
No, because that's a separate thing. So those folks will be able to get a driver's license, and that doesn't entitle them to any other citizenship stuff like that. So the thinking behind that law is that those folks will then be able to get automobile insurance, and there's a big issue with uninsured motorists.
Right.
So that's the impetus of that bill, and having looked at the bill myself, there's some clear distinctions about what it really entitles you to. So if somebody has one of those licenses and goes to try to register to vote, there's going to be a check there where they say, no, you're not a legal citizen, so you can't vote.
Yeah, but there's no designation on the license, I don't think. I was hearing a talk show one day, and they were talking about that, and I said, well, and I'm saying to myself, well, how are they going to know that this person is not a legal citizen?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to take a look at
Like
the
they
license.
didn't put a star on it or something, like make a different color because because they're illegals with a license. I think it's the same license.
Yeah, I believe it's similar. There may be a sentence somewhere on there that says not proof of citizenship, and
Right.
similar to in the future, when you renew your license and you choose maybe not to get the Real ID, it's going to say on there, not for federal ID. So that way someone can look at it, and there's
Right.
no gold star, they're going to see not for federal ID.
Right.
So that'll show that's not a federally approved Real ID license. So my hunch, and I'll have to double check on that because I don't want to say something that I
Right.
don't know for
Right.
sure. My hunch is that there's going to be similar language on that license, because that's a question that people raised. And during the debate and during the hearings before that bill was passed, a lot of folks raised those concerns. So I think,
Because I
Massachusetts.
think they do have a way of getting a social security card too, illegal aliens.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know.
I think that some people do that somehow. So that's my question. Is, 'cause
Yeah.
again, I'm hearing this debate on the radio. I didn't get involved in it, but I was just
Yeah.
listening to it. And I heard somebody said, well, they can get I don't know how, they can get a social security card, but if they did, and the license and your tax bill or your electric bill or something,
Yeah.
could you get this ID?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Honestly, I'm not really sure about all the details on that. My hunch is that there has to be some way to prevent that because, we have pretty clear immigration laws in this
Right,
country.
right.
And, if it was easy for people to kind of circumvent the citizenship process, we would have some problems there. So I would hope that there's something to catch people. So we'll see. But, I'm not a Secretary of State, and I don't work for the Registry of Motor Vehicles, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, so, well, I'm glad that's cleared up, I hope. I hope that's cleared up.
Yeah, definitely. That's the interesting thing about driving, right? Because it connects everybody. So no matter what, you've got to have a license to drive.
Right.
And it's one of those things that's interesting about being a citizen of a country, right? We all have to go through a similar process, whether it's dragging yourself to the RMV and getting your paperwork together, and it's one of those things that kind of connects us all. And that's sort of the beauty of democracy in a way, where certain things are a right, but then certain things are a privilege, like
Right.
getting a driver's license.
Right.
And you have to kind of earn that privilege. And, the state can easily take away your driver's license as much.
Well, now they're giving them back in Rhode Island. Did you see
Yeah.
that yesterday?
Yeah.
They're giving people back that lost their driver's license years ago for whatever
Yeah.
reason. They gave a couple licenses back to people.
Yeah, amnesty, and that's an interesting conversation, At some point, you have to ask, at some point, when is forgiveness appropriate
Right.
and when is it not?
Right.
And that's a
Right.
really tricky thing. I can imagine if someone commits a crime, they need to be punished. There needs to be repercussions for that. But then there's a question of
How long?
how equitable, and,
How severe?
we see people who've committed some pretty substantial crimes get off pretty scot-free,
Right.
especially financial crimes. Think about people during that, financial crisis in 2008 and 2009. There weren't many arrests after the mortgage fiasco,
Right.
and people lose their livelihoods, and then, the people responsible for that, maybe pay a little fine and,
Yeah. Or go to jail for a year or two.
Yeah.
I'd go to jail for a year or two for $5 million.
Yeah. So, it raises some questions there.
Because I see that one of the things I really appreciate AAA for, I don't know how many times I've locked my keys in the car.
Oh, our lockout service, yeah. Yeah. No, that's the thing, People often think, you know what, I know how to change a tire. I don't need AAA, right?
Right.
Well, my argument is this. Do you really want to be on the side of Interstate 95 when cars are going by you 80 miles an hour, messing with a tire iron, trying to get that tire off, when people are getting hit and killed every day on the roads, right? When you call AAA, not only is someone going to do the work for you, we're going to park that big tow truck behind your car, with the lights flashing, and we're going to protect you.
Well, first of all, can you explain to people why it's a bad idea to break down on the left-hand side of the lane? If you got a flat tire and it's blah, 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 do your best to get over to the shoulder.
You have to do it.
You don't want to be on the left side of the road.
No, you absolutely
do not
do
want
not.
to be there.
You do absolutely
And I
do
see
not.
it so often. I'm sure
Yeah.
you do too. You see them pull on the left side of the road with a flat tire. I mean, how dumb is that?
Absolutely.
They're worried about the tire. I'd be worried about my life more
That's
than my
it.
tire.
Tires can be replaced. Wheels can be
Right,
replaced,
right.
Definitely. If that happens to you, put the hazards on, wave your arms out the window so
Right.
people slow down for you. As a motorist myself, if I see somebody in a tough spot, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to let them get over,
Yep.
There's going to be people that are distracted and maybe annoyed by you, but you know what? You can get over and you can make yourself in a safer situation, and that's the most important thing.
Exactly.
And that's what we preach at AAA, same with car care. A lot of it is keeping your car on the road longer, but a lot of it's safety too. So when we encourage people to replace their tires more regularly, it's not because we want to see tire sales, it's
Right.
because we want people to be able to stop in time and not smash into somebody else because those tires are worn out. Yeah, so
Right.
definitely get yourself off the side of the road. People often ask me, if I say break down, should I stay in the car or should I get out? And that's a tough question to answer because a lot of folks, they get out of the car and they stand behind it and they're putting
that's
themselves
even dumber.
in a vulnerable position.
my God.
So really, it's better to stay in the car
Right,
and take
right.
advantage of the fact that you got crumple zones around you, you got your seatbelt
Or
protecting you.
get on
Right.
get on the Jersey barrier if you're on the left side, or better still, if you're pulled over, getting off the shoulder
Yeah.
on the other side, like a passenger side.
Yeah,
of the
climb
car.
over that guardrail, and if you
And-
can find
and-
an incline, get up the hill.
Yep.
Stand behind a big tree. Like seriously, you have to think that way.
And when you pull over on the shoulder, don't get out on the driver's side. Climb over and get out on the passenger side.
That's another
unless
great
you're way
tip.
over. Unless you're way over.
Absolutely.
Because somebody's going to clip you.
It happens all too often. In fact, over just the last 4 years that I've been with AAA, we've had a couple of our drivers struck by cars
Really?
on the roadside.
Yeah.
It's a big problem, and it's part of the reason why we really promote our slow down, move over campaign, which is a law in all 50 states.
Yeah, what's the deal there? If I'm on the right lane and I'm going by, here's a cop car up ahead, I'm supposed to move over a lane, right?
Yep, that's the law. You got to get over. If you can't get over for whatever reason, say you're next to a tractor trailer and there's no room.
Nowhere to go.
Slow down. Just
Right.
slow down. Take your foot off the gas. Give that officer or firefighter or EMS person room to do their job, because that's their office right there on the side of the road. That's where they work every day. There was a powerful PSA that really drives this point home, where you have somebody sitting at a desk with papers and they're working, and there's cars going by 60 miles an hour right against their desk. And it kind of speaks to that this is where our first responders work. These lifesavers, these
Makes
heroes,
sense, yeah.
That's where they work. So we urge people to follow that law because it saves lives. These are folks that want to come home to their families at the end of the day, and the spouses of folks who work on the roadside, every day they go out on their jobs, they worry, whether you're a cop or a AAA tow driver. The good news is that people get it. I see compliance. I see people move over when I'm driving,
Right.
and I see it. But there are people that seem to not get the message. Some people think slow down, move over means if a cop's trying to pull you over, slow down and pull over. No, that's not what it means. It means when we see blinking lights of any color, slow
Right.
down and move over. So, that's one of those small things that we can do as drivers. And let's say you're not on the rightmost lane. You know what? Slow down a little bit and create a gap in
Right.
front of you.
I always try
so
to
that
have a gap
person
in
who
front of
wants
me.
to get over can get over.
Right,
Many
right.
times I've been in the situation where I'm trying to move over and no one will let me. So, you know.
Again, that goes to my thought of you're in the left lane, you get a blowout, and you're trying to get over, and nobody lets you over, so you end up having to stay in the left lane. You don't want to do that.
That's
and
right.
then even worse, I see some people, they stop in the middle lane.
Oh.
And that's killer.
I know.
It makes no sense at all to me.
Yeah, some folks have said, oh, well, you know, say I get rear-ended,
Right.
right? I don't want to move out of the way. I want the police to come and
Right.
see what happens so they can write their police report and not get
Take
covered.
pictures and get it done with.
Take pictures, get it done with, or invest in a dash cam, right?
Which
that
I
way,
have.
yeah, I have one too. It was I got it for Christmas last year, and it's one of the best investments I
Yep.
made, because now when I drive, not only do I know that if something happens, I have video proof of it
Yep.
happened. Mine has a GPS system, so it shows the speed on the video, so it tells me how fast I'm going, knowing that if I screw up, if I do something wrong,
Right.
I'm gonna have evidence that I messed up.
Oh, you got to hide that.
It could, well, you can undelete files. So, but the fact is, it kind of actually holds me accountable,
Right.
and it means that I'm more courteous, I'm more thoughtful as a driver, knowing that I'm documenting my own driving habits. So not only am I protecting myself, I'm kind of protecting my family members, because they know that if I'm on the road, I'm going to be driving more responsibility, just because, you know, we all tend to behave a little bit better when we're on camera.
Don't some of those cameras, I think mine does, if you get in an accident, it automatically saves that
Yeah,
portion
yeah.
of footage.
Yeah, there's a big market out there. You can buy, you know, all sorts of different products, all sorts of different brands.
Some of them will catch the back and the front.
Yeah, that's what mine does. Mine has a separate front and a separate rear camera.
Right.
You know, it took a little effort to install. I did it myself. I got one that's great because it gets power from the ODB2 port, which is that, you know, port you can plug in a code scanner. So
Oh,
say your
really?
check engine light
You
comes
go in
on.
there?
Yeah, it draws power from there. I was able to kind of tuck it under, you know, the panels and hide it. So it looks
Now,
like it was
how'd you
factory
get the
installed.
wire to the back? Or do you have a
So
wire to the
through
back?
the headliner, right? So
Really?
from the ODD port, I was able to tuck it like inside the kind of where the door meets the car,
Right.
and then I climb up the column there, and then I just followed it all the way to the back of the car, and then it pops out right by the rear where the windshield is, and just by tucking it with my hand, and it came with a little tool to kind of tuck it in there.
Yeah.
But there's room; you can kind of get it in there, so there's no wires. It's not like it doesn't look like a hack job. You know,
Right,
it looks like it
yeah.
was professionally installed. The other thing that's interesting about having a rear camera is sometimes people will be tailgating me, and then they look, and then they see that little camera, in the window, and all of a sudden they're giving me a little more room.
Yeah.
You know,
That
everyone's,
scares me the most. I've been rear-ended 3 different times.
yeah, it's the worst. The good news is you can prevent being rear-ended a little bit just by trying to keep a good following distance from the car in front of you. So a lot of folks
No,
say,
but not me. I mean,
No.
a woman or a
No,
guy
no.
behind me, they're running too close to me.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I do? I tap my brakes a couple
Yeah.
of times, try to back them off a little bit.
I know. I would caution you in doing that.
Yeah.
Like I understand the instinct to do that. You know, and I felt that myself. But what we find at AAA when we look at this type of thing, we give our best practices or our best advice is, instead of focusing on the fact that they're tailgating you, you know, remember that you do have control over what's in front of you, right?
Right.
So that person behind you is getting on your nerves.
I move over, let them go by me.
Move over and let them go by. And let's say you can't move over it. Well, what I try to do is I don't purposely slow down and mess with the person behind me, but I do slow down just a tiny bit to create that larger gap in front of me. So let's say the person in front of me slams on their brakes. Well, now I have just that extra second, maybe 2 seconds to
Right.
slow down naturally to a nice gentle stop.
So this person's
So
not
this
gonna hit
person
you.
isn't going to hit me behind me. So I'm kind of creating more of a buffer in front of me, so that person behind me is less of a risk to me. So it's kind of not our instinct. Sometimes our instinct is to kind of, you know, teach that person behind us a lesson, but a lot of times that's what's going to cause the crash, and then all of a sudden you're on the side of the road with that person, and you know how things go sometimes. So, and people are upset, you know, like you don't want to have too much conflict out there. Road rage is a
Oh, I was just
problem.
going to say that. Anything could cause that.
And we see some terrible stories of people getting seriously hurt or getting
Or
involved in
killed.
fights. A couple years ago, there were 2 grown women with families, like nice people, got into some escalating road rage back and forth on the road and ended up outside their cars in a fist fight. And so
Right.
it made the rounds on social media. It said, look at these 2 women, you know, punching each other on the side of the road. You know, some folks had a laugh about it, but when later on they went to court and everything, and the press
It
talked to
wasn't
them,
laughable.
both of them were humiliated. Both of them said this wasn't my nature. This isn't the kind of person I am.
Right.
I got carried away. My feelings got the best of me, and we see this a lot on the roadway.
Yep.
So anything to just cool the temperature down a little bit is going to get you safely home, and that's the point, getting home, right?
Now, you a native Rhode Islander?
I am.
All right, then you must remember the worst road rage incident I ever thought or heard of or remember is this guy, I think he was from Woonsocket, and he got out of the car with a bow. Remember that?
I do. I remember that.
He shot the guy with a damn, what do they call them?
A crossbow.
Crossbow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather be shot with a bullet. A crossbow, shoot right through him.
That's just out of like
Over road rage.
of the movies, you know. Yeah, well, that's the thing. You don't know what's going on with the other person,
Right.
They might have a baseball bat. They might have a gun, or they might just be having a really bad day, or
Yep.
maybe they got a phone call saying, "Your kid's in the ICU. You better get here fast."
Right.
Maybe that's why that person's tailgating and flashing the lights
Trying to
and
get you
beeping,
out of
right?
the way, yeah.
There was a story recently of somebody who was angry at another vehicle tailgating them and flashing their lights and purposely like slowed down and got in their way. It turns out somebody was having a medical situation, was trying to get to the hospital,
That's the other
and that
thing,
person
yeah.
didn't survive. So now that
now-
driver was trying to teach the other person behind him a lesson. It turns out they might have cost them that valuable time to get to the ICU.
Wow.
So
they got to live with that.
they got to live with that. And, you know, it's easy to think in the short term, but, you know, that's one thing I've learned as I've become more versed in the world of traffic safety.
Right.
You know, a lot of it's just being humble, sucking it up, moving over, letting that person pass. Don't let it bother you. When we're in our car, we've kind of distanced ourselves from other people.
Right.
We're in our own little bubble, and it's easy to forget that we're all human beings. You know, my colleague, Mary McGuire, who regretfully couldn't be here today and sends her well wishes, often says, you know, treat other drivers like you would at a dinner party. When you go to a
Right.
dinner party, you're nice to everyone. You make casual chit-chat. You don't start swearing and yelling at people
Right,
for
right.
taking too long at
Put
the
up
buffet.
5 fingers instead of 1.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? There have been times where people make a mistake and I have to hit my brakes and they look at me and say, "I'm sorry." I'm like, "Oh, it's okay. It's
Right.
all right." You know what? I've made mistakes too. We've all made
Yep.
mistakes, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now I have, you got 3 levels of, right, membership. Now, it
Yeah.
used to be 2. Now you added platinum.
Yeah, a Premier. Yeah.
Was it Premier?
Yeah, there's
Premier.
Basic, Plus, and Premier.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I had Plus, and now all of a sudden I got Premier.
Well, it's not a bad thing to have, right? Let's say you go on a road trip, right? One of the advantages to Premier is
Is the
that
distance it will tow.
we'll tow you 200 miles.
I know that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you know why I got the Classic initially, the one that used to be the best
Yeah.
one, which was 100 miles.
Yeah.
'Cause I used to drive to Milton, Vermont every other week.
Yeah.
And in the dead of winter sometime, in fact, one time I lost the heat in my car. That couldn't help me with that.
Ugh.
If I got, in the dead of winter, yeah, I lost the heat. I went into a variety store, got off the exit, went to a variety store. They asked me, got some cardboard? I put cardboard in front of the radiator to try to heat it up a little bit because it was like 6 degrees out. I was driving to Montreal. It was ridiculously cold.
Oof. Yeah, those Canadian, that northern part of New England, it can get pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I admire your, resourcefulness putting the cardboard up. You see this sometimes the diesel tractor trailers, they put
Yeah,
those,
they do.
those
They,
nets
yeah,
up.
they actually have these things they put, like
Yeah.
a jacket they put in front of the thing, you know?
Yeah, but for folks like that who make those types of trips regularly, you know, it's worth maybe spending a little more on the membership to have that peace of mind knowing that if they get stuck in northern Maine,
Yep.
they're still going to be able to get their car brought all the way down to the local garage, and that's real peace of mind. The other advantage to being a Premier member is if your battery needs replacing, we have a battery service, which is really convenient. We'll come to your car wherever it is, if it's
Right.
home. Schedule on the weekend, you know. We'll test your battery, clean the terminals, and if the battery needs replacing, we'll sell you our AAA branded battery, which is an interstate
the spot.
battery. On the spot. And you get a $25 discount on it.
Nice.
Yeah, so
That's
that
big.
definitely helps, yeah. And there's lots of other little details, and if you go to our website at northeast.aaa.com, there's a breakdown of all the different memberships and what you get.
Right.
The basic membership's gonna get you a lot. It's not like you really need to spend more to get
Unless
core.
you do traveling, then you need like I said, I need
Yeah.
the Premier or the better membership.
Yeah, for people that are really, heavy travelers.
Because how much money would it cost to tow a car 200 miles?
Oh, a lot less than the membership cost to be
A lot
Premier.
more than the
Yeah,
membership
which is
cost.
about $90 a year or so, and the
Yep.
basic membership you can get for less than $50, which
Right.
is still, and nowadays, $50 a year
Nothing.
for that level of service. I mean, you don't get that these days. And also, we offer a monthly plan, so some folks, $50 is a lot of money. So if you can do it monthly, it's less than $5 a month to have AAA. Think about how much people are spending on streaming services or subscriptions. Everything's a subscription now. Everybody wants a
Exactly.
couple bucks from you every month,
yeah.
right? So for a lot less than, Netflix or Hulu or HBO Max or you name it, you have AAA peace of
And you
mind.
got peace of mind. It's a big thing.
That's what
That's
it
the big
is.
thing.
It's
Because I
peace
was
of mind.
always worried about a flat tire or something, a blowout on the highway. Oh, and the other thing we didn't mention, and unless this has changed, I used to also drive years ago. I used to drive to Rochester, New York. I did 12 trips in 1 year.
Yep.
And my ex-brother-in-law lived up there, and I used to have to take my ex-wife up there and my mother-in-law up there to see him, and because nobody drove but me.
Yeah.
And it's a long run. If you don't know, you drive up the Mass Pike. You drive up 146. You get on the Mass Pike which is Route 90, to the New York Thruway, which is the same road.
Yeah.
And you just continue driving towards Buffalo, New York.
going west.
It's a hell of a ride, especially in the winter.
Yeah.
I did a lot of times in the winter following the plow. There's only 2-lane road when you get up there,
Yeah.
and you're following the plow, and he's in this lane, you're in that lane, or sometimes 2 plows, and you're behind both of them. And you're the only car on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, it was treacherous, and I was always worried about breaking down, and I did. I broke down, I broke a fan belt. I was driving a Buick Wildcat, I'll never forget it. We had to go off the road, big V8 engine, and now I know how to change this, I know how to do this. So we pull into a gas station, and AAA guarantees you're going to get a legit deal.
Yeah.
Right? And they still do that?
Yeah, we have approved auto repair facilities, right? So if you look through our list, which we maintain, you can find a repair shop that we will vouch for.
Right, and they can't overcharge you.
They can't overcharge you. You get a little bit of discount off the top
Right.
on the service as
Right.
compared to regular customers. And we actually certify them. We have a pretty rigorous process. It actually costs them money to be AAA certified, so they're paying for our inspectors to come. And it's a rigorous thing. You can't, not anybody can just get it. You have to actually demonstrate that you're fair, you're reasonable, you do quality work, and you're not going to be ripping people off.
Well, yeah, funny thing, it was the middle of the night, and we had to get there, and the guy was busy, so I said, look, we put the car in the garage, I said, I'll do it. He had the fan belt, and I had to take 2 other belts off, the power steering belt and everything, and the alternator belt off to get to it.
Yep.
And he said, you can do it? I said, yeah, I can do it. So I'll pay you, but I'm going to do it because I want to get out of here. And I climbed under the damn car and changed the belt, put it back on, off we went.
Wow. Yeah, well, nowadays, I think with insurance, good luck getting into a garage. I've tried to watch my oil get changed. Like, sorry, you can't be here. You got to go in the waiting room, sir.
Hey,
Yeah, but,
Mark, you spent an hour with Bob.
I did.
We've run out of time. You know
Wow,
that, right?
that's amazing. Well, it's been an honor, Bob. I grew up watching you, and I feel like this is one of my bucket list items. So I'm really...
I'm honored that you think that way.
No, seriously, you're a Rhode Island institution, Bob. You've had a lot of important people come through here, and you've really made a difference in this state. And you brought a lot of spotlights on amazing things the state has to offer, and had great conversations with good people. And just to be in the archives is a real treat, and I'm proud to be here.
Well, I thank you for that. And thank you for showing up. Thank you for spending an hour with Bob. AAA Rhode Island, AAA New England, AAA Northeast.
That's right.
The whole package.
Yeah, and AAA follows you everywhere. So if you're in California, you call AAA. They'll help you out. We
Oh, I know.
We help you
I
out.
wish I had the time to talk about this. I was in Florence, Alabama, and I end up in the AAA office. Talked with them for a while. All the women, they were so great to me. Do you know they sent me Christmas cards for like the next 6 years after that?
Did they?
Yep.
Wow.
Well, thanks again.
My pleasure.
For spending an hour with Bob. And folks, thank you for spending an hour with Bob and Mark.